Anyway, what I wanted to do now was get away from a lot of the stuff we've been talking about and go back to Whiterun to discuss another subject that I find incredibly interesting about this game.
There's a nip in the air. Cold won't be good for my crops. Never is.
Oh, but that sounded like the cold won't be good for your crops. That sounded like a euphemism. Anyway, since we're going to be exploring the subject of children in the game, I think they're off asleep in houses or wherever they go to sleep. So we shall sleep and then go out and meet some of the kids and explore some of the interesting aspects of their role in the game. Okay, kids, where are you? They will be around here somewhere. I think there's sometimes a homeless one up here. This is it. Yeah, this one's homeless.
Mister, could you spare a coin? Oh, thank you. Divines, bless your kind heart.
Ah, now we have the option to adopt a child in this game. This is where things get very fascinating in terms of our motivations as gamers.
Really? Do you have a place I could live? Oh, well, thanks anyway, I suppose.
Yeah, okay. Well, tugs on your heartstrings, doesn't it? Poor homeless kid. Alright, so all of the kids in this game, there are some boys around somewhere. I think the king's son is in the castle. But all the boys and girls in this game are generally around this same age, which looks to me to be around age 10 to 12. Ah, okay, we found another one. Yeah, another girl.
What are you looking at?
Yeah,
I'm
shut
not
up.
afraid of you, even if you are my elder.
That's because you are invincible in the game, young child. Okay, so all the kids in this game are roughly aged 10 to 12, which is a prepubescent age. So they are non-sexualized, and the girls, they're heavily clothed as well. Whereas in real life, kids aged 10 to 12 usually have pop star role models and stuff, and girls especially between ages 10 and 12 can often dress very sexual based upon their pop star role models, or based on other things. I don't know, maybe their sexual awareness is kicking in earlier than puberty actually does. In fact, that's definitely a fact. I mean, any sort of psychologist will tell you that kids are capable of sexual feelings before puberty. But appropriately, the game plays that completely down. I think the main reason why the kids are aged 10 to 12 in this game is because you can adopt a kid. You cannot have a biological kid of your own in this game. Now, to have a biological kid would involve a baby stage, a toddler stage. It would involve feeding the kid and changing nappies, or diapers as you Americans call them. All the hardcore physical parenting, having to feed them all the time, prepare meals, put them to sleep at night and all that kind of stuff. That's all gone because these kids are aged 10 to 12. Now, a kid who's aged 10 to 12, if they've been raised reasonably well, is quite capable of looking after themselves. They can prepare their own meals, they can dress themselves, they can bath themselves. You never have to bath your kid in this game. Of course, that would interfere with the non-sexualization of kids, because if you had to bath kids yourself in this game, it would involve those kids being naked, and you would see it as the player, and that would be kind of deemed inappropriate. Not that I believe that anybody who plays this game who hurts a child in this game by attacking them with a sword, not that you can hurt them, we'll get into that in a minute, but anyone who plays this game who happens to hurt a child, or if the kids were sexualized in the game, I don't think it would make any players inclined to do that in real life. But we humans have child abuse, both in terms of violence and sexual abuse, as being absolute no-go areas socially. That's a behavioural norm that we maintain, and part of the way that we do that is by having what we call appropriateness. So in this game world we maintain that because it's an absolute no-no. It's pretty interesting really, because In real life, murder is a no-no. Murder is something we absolutely generally should not do, and it's a criminal offence. You can do life for it, and yet in these games we can kill people, but we can't kill kids, and we can't do anything that is sexually abusive. Actually, we can't do anything sexually abusive to kids or adults in this game. There's not generally any rape in this game. That's another interesting issue. We have the women who generally have a sort of physically attractive physique, but they tend to be overclothed, and there are never any rape issues in this game. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? But there's a hell of a lot of killing. It's funny how we, in media, fictional media, whether it's games or movies, showing murder of adults is generally like, yeah, okay, that happens. It's okay to show that. But rape is something which we are much less inclined to show. Even though we live in this game in a brutal, violent, almost Neanderthal world. You know, a lot of caveman instincts are here in this world, a lot of testosterone, and yet there is no rape, not even in any of the stories in the game, none of the side quests. At no point in the plot can I recall there being any kind of rape elements anywhere, not even towards adults. So it's definitely not going to be there with the kids. Is that a boy and a girl down there, or two girls? There's two girls. I don't know where the boys have gone. So back to the subject of the ages of the kids. By having them aged 10 to 12, we are able to be a neglectful parent in this game, because you can adopt a kid, let them live in your house, and the kids who... Yeah, you keep saying that. The kids who you adopt in this game, because they've been homeless, they're already good at surviving. They've been able to find food, find a place to sleep, presumably find somewhere to wash themselves. So because they're already capable of those very basic physical survival needs, we don't have to be a real parent to them in the game, not even in the basic physical sense. So you can have a kid, you can put them in this home here, and you can just leave them there, and they will never run away, no matter how neglectful you are. You can leave and go on missions for months and come back, or even a year in the game time, and the kid will not have aged, and they won't complain much that you've been gone. They might complain. I think there is a mechanic where they complain that you haven't been around much, but all you have to do is give them a toy, or a child's doll, or a toy sword, or I think you can play a game of tag with them or something like that, and then they're happy then, and they don't complain for a couple of weeks. And that's like the most lame parenting you can imagine. However, imagine if in this game, if you could adopt a child that was a baby or a toddler, or maybe a 6-year-old, or you could even have a biological child of your own. And the biological child thing, you feel much more connection yourself than you do to an adopted kid. Of course, there are some parents who adopt kids who make better parents than biological parents in a lot of cases. But if you could adopt a kid of your own from a very young age,
What are you looking at?
and you could put them in your home.
Boys, girls, dogs, elders.
Hey, you
There's
said
no
you could
way
come
I
in.
won't bite.
Get out, child. I haven't adopted you. If you could have, like, say, a baby or a toddler in your house. Oh, I've adopted one. And you just leave them here, and they're crawling around or walking around, and you disappear for months in the game going on missions, and then you come back, and the kid is just, like, still wandering around. It would bring the parental neglect element to the forefront, and it would then be consciously be very in your face in it. And I think the player would feel bad, like, oh, you know, I've got this kid, and this baby or this toddler, I've just left them here to just wander around. They got no one to look after them, and so on. It would just be such a blatant issue of parental neglect. And in order to make that work, we'd have to have all kinds of changes in the game mechanics. You'd have to get, say, Lydia or somebody else to be a nanny to the kid, which would also be a form of neglect if you weren't doing much parenting yourself. You would have to have mechanics like, I don't know, washing them and feeding them and all that kind of stuff. It just wouldn't work. So we hardly ever get video games that involve the actual raising of children. But Skyrim has gone for the adopt a kid thing, which is also very unusual in games. And I think that's the key reason for the 10 to 12 age range. It allows you to be a neglectful parent in this game without the neglect being too obvious. Also, we don't have teenagers anywhere in this game. There's no 14-year-old boys, 16-year-old girls, anything like that. Again, the issue of sexuality would become quite blurred on that one. What if you had 16-year-old girls in this game? And also the issue of violence. I mean, you cannot physically harm the kids in this game, but what kind of rules would apply to a teenager? If you had teenagers in the game, say age 15, say a 15-year-old boy, should you be able to kill that 15-year-old like you can murder any adult in the game? Or should that teenager be subjected to the same immortality, invulnerability rules that the 10 to 12-year-old children have got going on? And should those teenagers be able to fight? Should they be able to be companions who fight with you? By companions, I don't mean lovers, I mean just like a travelling fighting companion. So yeah, I mean this game, in terms of the ages of characters, kids up to the age of 10 don't exist in this game, and kids between, say, the age of 12 and 18 don't exist in this game. So you are either a 10 or 12-year-old kid in this game, or you are an adult aged 18 and upwards to, I don't know, 90 years old, however the oldest person in this is in this game. So all that is really interesting. Also, the kids in this game, as I said, they're invulnerable. Now let's go and see what happens when we go and attack the kids. They cannot be harmed. They can run away, they can cower, they can whimper and complain that they're being attacked. But they cannot be physically harmed. Now, if I remember rightly, I was experimenting with this once, and it turns out that if I use magic on a kid, like a fireball, it has no effect. It doesn't even trigger the guards into attacking me. So that seems to be an oversight in how the game is designed concerning kids. But if I grab a sword and attack this kid, see, her health doesn't go down, there's no blood, there's no injury, and I get attacked instantly by the guards because I attacked the kid. So you know, the game does give consequences. If you're brutal to kids, you will be attacked by the guards. But yet you can shoot fireballs at them, and it makes no difference. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? So yeah, in a nutshell, we can adopt a kid in this game, but we adopt them in the form of that they are basically like a pet, and we get to be neglectful. We are almost completely devoid of responsibility in this game for our kids. They never age. It's just a really interesting aspect of this game that is unusual. I can't remember any other games that I've ever played where you can adopt a child. And I'd be interested to see if other games did have that mechanic, how they would handle it in terms of the morality, in terms of the ages of the kids, and so on. Right, I think that's about it for this episode. I have to finish up now. If you want more studies on video games, film analysis, anything like that, do subscribe and check out my website, collativelearning.com. There's plenty of stuff there, and there will be more episodes of this particular study of Skyrim. So yeah, give your feedback in the comments in the section below, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.